Good afternoon, everyone. Please stand by and we will start at 1 p.m. Please stand by. We will start in a few minutes.
SEAMEO INNOTECH is an educational technology and innovation organization dedicated to providing innovative and technology-oriented learning services, research-based solutions, information sharing, and knowledge management to enable the education community in Southeast Asia to respond effectively to current and emerging needs and concerns. SEAMEO INNOTECH is an educational technology and innovation organization that serves as a training hub for capacity building, educational research, and knowledge management, and is committed to creating a better future and learning environment for learners. The center is committed to being a major player and agenda setter in the region to ensure that a better, brighter, and more promising future awaits every learner in the region, whenever, wherever, and whichever way learning takes place. SEAMEO INNOTECH is one of the 26 centers of SEAMEO. This chartered regional intergovernmental organization aims to promote regional cooperation in education, science, and culture among Southeast Asian nations. In January 1970, the SEAMEO Regional Center for Educational Innovation and Technology, also known since then as SEAMEO INNOTECH, was established as one of the regional centers of SEAMEO when a council approved its first 5-year plan and interim plans of operations. It had moved from one member country to another until it found its permanent home in Diliman, Quezon City, Philippines on July 1, 1981. SEAMEO INNOTECH's mission is to provide innovative and technology-oriented learning services, research-based solutions, information sharing, and knowledge management to enable the education community in Southeast Asia to effectively respond to current and emerging needs and concerns, guided by the center's vision to realize a better future for every Southeast Asian learner. Under the center's capacity building programs, SEAMEO INNOTECH was able to train 123,490 education personnel in Southeast Asia for the past 10 years. In partnership with the Teacher Council of Thailand, the center was able to develop the Southeast Asian teacher and school head competency frameworks that served as the basis for training interventions and capacity building programs for the region. For 54 years, the center has been mandated to help the Southeast Asian education community address educational issues and concerns using appropriate technologies and innovations. SEAMEO INNOTECH achieves this through the implementation of its various programs and projects, namely capacity building for teachers, school heads, and other education personnel, research and development in educational innovation and technology, networking and collaboration among Southeast Asian institutions and organizations, knowledge sharing and promotion of best practices.
We would like to express our appreciation for SEAMEO INNOTECH for its continuous partnership with the Department of Education in giving trainings for our teachers, for our school heads, and for our supervisors. And we are always happy to hear good stories from our teacher participants of the SEAMEO training, and they are always glad to share with us the practices that have been shared with them by other participants from other parts of the country. They always benefit from all these practices, and the trainings given by SEAMEO INNOTECH is a good benchmark for all our schools and all our teacher participants from DepEd Region 1.
So partnership is really the key in this innovation, in which we would also like to thank the SEAMEO INNOTECH, because SEAMEO INNOTECH give us the platform to share and to be known by most of the people, not only in the Philippines but in Southeast Asia.
Teach on, keeping the passion alive. Participating in the massive open online courses serve as a platform for lifelong learning, intellectual growth, and exploration. It provided me with a perfect blend of flexibility and diverse knowledge about digital literacy, providing me with fresh perspective, full of potential, and acquisition of new knowledge.
Inspired by our upcoming 55th anniversary and motivated by our 10th FYDP, we at SEAMEO INNOTECH are all geared up to fulfill our commitment to bring about solutions to educational needs in the region, no matter the transformations, no matter the challenges. We are confident that we will once again weather current crises and changes and emerge a better, wiser, more responsive, and more innovative organization in the service of our education stakeholders. From learners, teachers, school heads, to education officials, all the way up to the highest education policymakers. We at SEAMEO INNOTECH remain unremitting in our commitment to provide a better future for every learner in Southeast Asia for 50 more years and beyond. SEAMEO INNOTECH is an educational technology SEAMEO INNOTECH is an educational technology and innovation organization dedicated to providing innovative and technology-oriented learning services, research-based solutions, information sharing, and knowledge management to enable the education community in Southeast Asia to respond effectively to current and emerging needs and concerns. SEAMEO INNOTECH is an educational technology and innovation organization that serves as a training hub for capacity building, educational research, and knowledge management, and is committed to creating a better future and learning environment for learners. The center is committed to being a major player and agenda setter in the region to ensure that a better, brighter, and more promising future awaits every learner in the region, whenever, wherever, and whichever way learning takes place. SEAMEO INNOTECH is one of the 26 centers of SEAMEO. This chartered regional intergovernmental organization aims to promote regional cooperation in education, science, and culture among Southeast Asian nations. In January 1970, the SEAMEO Regional Center for Educational Innovation and Technology, also known since then as SEAMEO INNOTECH, was established as one of the regional centers of SEAMEO when the Council approved its first 5-year plan and interim plans of operations. It had moved from one member country to another until it found its permanent home in Diliman, Quezon City, Philippines on July 1, 1981. SEAMEO INNOTECH's mission is to provide innovative and technology-oriented learning services, research-based solutions, information sharing, and knowledge management to enable the education community in Southeast Asia to effectively respond to current and emerging needs and concerns, guided by the center's vision to realize a better future for every Southeast Asian learner. Under the center's capacity building programs, SEAMEO INNOTECH was able to train 123,490 education personnel in Southeast Asia for the past 10 years. In partnership with the Teacher Council of Thailand, the center was able to develop the Southeast Asian teacher and school head competency frameworks that served as the basis for training interventions and capacity building programs for the region. For 54 years, the center has been mandated to help the Southeast Asian education community address educational issues and concerns using appropriate technologies and innovations. SEAMEO INNOTECH achieves this through the implementation of its various programs and projects, namely capacity building for teachers, school heads, and other education personnel, research and development in educational innovation and technology, networking and collaboration among Southeast Asian institutions and organizations, knowledge sharing and promotion of best practices.
We would like to express our appreciation for SEAMEO INNOTECH for its continuous partnership with the Department of Education in giving trainings for our teachers, for our school heads, and for our supervisors. And we are always happy to hear good stories from our teacher participants of the SEAMEO training, and they are always glad to share with us the practices that have been shared with them by other participants from other parts of the country. They always benefit from all these practices, and the trainings given by SEAMEO INNOTECH is a good benchmark for all our schools and all our teacher participants from DepEd Region 1.
So partnership is really the key in this innovation, in which we would also like to thank the SEAMEO INNOTECH, because SEAMEO INNOTECH give us the platform to share and to be known by most of the people, not only in the Philippines but in Southeast Asia.
Teach on, keeping the passion alive. Participating in the massive open online courses serve as a platform for lifelong learning, intellectual growth, and exploration. It provided me with the perfect blend of flexibility and diverse knowledge about digital literacy, providing me with fresh perspective, full of potential, and acquisition of new knowledge.
Inspired by our upcoming 55th anniversary and motivated by our 10th FYDP, we at SEAMEO INNOTECH are all geared up to fulfill our commitment to bring about solutions to educational needs in the region, no matter the transformations, no matter the challenges. We are confident that we will once again weather current crises and changes and emerge a better, wiser, more responsive, and more innovative organization in the service of our education stakeholders. From learners, teachers, school heads, to education officials, all the way up to the highest education policymakers. We at SEAMEO INNOTECH remain unremitting in our commitment to provide a better future for every learner in Southeast Asia for 50 more years and beyond.
Good day, everyone. We will start in 3 minutes. everyone, and welcome to AI Governance in Education, Navigating Ethical Implications and Policy Development. I'm Ivy, and I will be your host for today. So we're streaming this event live on Innotech's Facebook and YouTube. So hello to everyone who have joined us today from different parts of the Philippines and different parts of the world, such as Cambodia, Japan, Malaysia, Belize, and India. So you may express your excitement and enthusiasm by commenting live here on our Facebook and YouTube. So we have established the transformative potential of AI in education in our previous in-person forums and webinars. Following our insightful and logical discussions, we will now delve into the significance of AI governance and the commitment to responsible and ethical integration. So the level and degree of AI implementation in Southeast Asian countries vary due to differences in realities and contexts. Therefore, it's important to contextualize the regional and in-country experiences in Southeast Asia to identify the relevant approach of their policymakers and school administrators in the implementation and regulation of AI in their country. So indeed, today's webinar presents a productive learning session with experts from different fields. And I know that we're all excited because I can see a lot of greetings on our social media platforms from our participants. So please continue sharing your thoughts and greetings, and thank you very much for joining us. So to start, let's hear a message from the Center Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH, Professor Leonor Magdolis Briones.
In the name of SEAMEO INNOTECH, I would like to express both personally and officially our appreciation and gratitude for the continued support that each and every one of you right now in the audience from the Philippines and from other countries have been contributing to the continuous study of our AI issues here in SEAMEO INNOTECH. Before I proceed, I would like to walk the participants through the earlier webinars. This is now the fourth webinar on the topics related to artificial intelligence, and which we consider not only very important but very challenging as well. And so, this is in preparation for the upcoming 16th International Conference entitled Fostering the I in AI, a multi-sectoral synergy for human-centered education, with emphasis, of course, on an issue which I strongly believe in, human-centered education. In addition, of course, to technology, to science, to digital learning, but also helping our learners become better citizens and better humans. And so we have conducted a series of webinars to contextualize the use of AI or artificial intelligence in education. This is one area where there is so much discussion, not only in the Philippines, but in the rest of Southeast Asia, of which SEAMEO INNOTECH is part of. The first webinar which we engaged in was Fostering the I, the intelligence side in AI, or unlocking the potential of AI in education. In this webinar, we explored the potential and limitations of large language models such as ChatGPT and Gemini in education. The second webinar was still on fostering the I in AI, was on preparing and adapting in an AI-assisted world. We are not talking here about a future. We are not talking here about a weather report where a storm is coming. We are talking about a development, an event which is already here and now. AI is not only in the Philippines, but also among ASEAN member countries and the rest of the world. And one of the areas where its influence is greatest and perhaps its impact could be much more powerful is in the field of education. In this second webinar, we discussed during a hybrid panel discussion, we discussed insights into how the academe, people from universities, research institutions, industry, particularly from the business sector, and policy-making bodies of the government. How do they perceive the status and future impacts of AI in education and the workforce? The third webinar which we conducted was Fostering the Eye in AI, Exploring Modern Tools for AI-ED. I know this is quite challenging for many of our member countries, including the Philippines, because we realize that we have a great deal of catching up to do in AI, particularly in education. I myself have instructed our library to prepare a bibliography of possible publications on AI, particularly on the implications for education and how AI applications can be utilized for teaching and learning. We in the Philippines are aware of where we need to work more. We are aware that we have to catch up on what the latest developments are, not only as practiced by our fellow ASEAN member countries, but also as these develop in other parts of the world, especially in education, which I keep on repeating. Now, what is the theme of the fourth and final webinar, which we are holding today, and to which we are welcoming not only our Philippine participants, but also those from the other countries. Here, we are finally focusing on an issue which I feel very strongly about, and this is navigating ethical implications on policy development. When we are faced with such fascinating, exciting, day-to-day changes and challenges as in AI, we have to consider possible ethical implications, particularly in government, especially in international institutions, and the development of policy. And so, for this session, we are going to focus on how policies in AI in education will be developed and regulated while addressing ethical concerns. Because like it or not, and I keep on repeating here to our staff in SEAMEO INNOTECH, there is a lot of good, but there is also a lot of challenges and possible, I will not say dangers, but possible complications in the continued use of AI and our efforts, as I said, to catch up with the other countries. So, for this fourth and final webinar, we would like to emphasize the contextual differences among the Southeast Asian member states. We have to recognize, and we do recognize, that not all of us are cut from the same political, social, and economic cloth. We are different from each other and yet similar. We look like each other, but we speak different languages, and we have different stages in the application of AI, particularly in education. Now, we are going to look at AI concepts in national policy strategies. In the case of the Philippines, no less than our President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., has enjoined government offices and institutions and also invited international institutions to really take a closer look at AI concepts and do catching up and engage in catching up. The alignment of the AI focus from national policy strategies to their implementation in education has to be seriously considered. It's one thing to formulate policy. In the case of the Philippines, this is done by one branch of government, which is the legislature. But it's also another thing to implement such policies, which is the function of the regular bureaucracy. And also to assess how these policies are implemented, whether according to law or whether according to ethical considerations, which will be the concern of the third branch of government, which is the judiciary. And so there will be differences in prioritization. As I said, we are different and yet we are the same. We look alike, but we speak different languages. And so there would be those who are still getting fascinated with digitalization and AI. AI also requires very, very high levels of investment considering the cost of all the requirements for AI in education, ranging from equipment, ranging from tools, to the training of our teachers, and also to develop the new teaching methodologies which will enhance the effectiveness of our learners. And so, at this time, even as we are starting our seminar, our webinar, I'd like to encourage not only our people in SEAMEO INNOTECH to attend, and this is still about a year ahead, but it's good to have these events in mind, our 16th International Conference, which SEAMEO INNOTECH normally holds, and the launch of this will be on August 30, 2024. You are all cordially invited. The main topic will really be on AI and its implications for education, not only in terms of technology, but also AI in art, in the humanities, and all types of human endeavors. And so, right now, our center is committed to produce an AI manifesto, a statement, a product that is the results of the events which will take place in the International Conference on August 30, 2024. Once more, I would like to emphasize that this series of webinars is a preparation, a build-up, a gathering, a simulation of interest on the subject of AI in one of the most important areas of human endeavor, which is education. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Briones, for expressing the importance of caution in integrating AI in education. Makes it more integral for policymakers and school administrators to have these kinds of discussions. So next, to fully set the tone for today's webinar, let's hear about the ethical implications and policy developments on AI in the context of the Philippines. So please welcome Congressman Jude A. Asidre, the representative of the Tingog Party List and chairman of the Committee on Overseas Workers' Affairs from the Philippine House of Representatives. He has already authored several significant laws, including, among others, the SIM Registration Act, One Town, One Product Philippines Act, Ease of Paying Taxes Act, Maharlika Investment Fund Act, and E-Commerce Act, showcasing his dedication to improving governance and addressing critical issues in our society. Let us warmly welcome Congressman Jude Asidre.
Good day, everyone. It's an honor to be with you today to discuss a topic that is rapidly changing our educational landscape, AI governance in education. As a member of the House of Representatives and one who has witnessed firsthand the transformative power of technology, I recognize the vast potential that AI holds for our educational system. However, I also understand the complexities and ethical implications that come with its adoption. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is no longer a futuristic concept. It is a present reality. It is already influencing how we teach, learn, and assess in classrooms across the globe. In the Philippines, we strive to improve our educational outcomes and equip our students with the skills needed for the 21st century. AI offers us unprecedented opportunities, revolutionizing the way we teach and learn. However, with these opportunities come significant challenges that raise ethical questions that we must assess with urgency and care. Let us first consider the transformative potential of artificial intelligence in education. The promise that AI holds is extraordinary. Imagine a classroom where each student receives personalized instruction tailored to their unique learning needs, where teachers are supported by intelligent systems that help them focus on what they do best, teaching, and where educational resources are accessible to all, regardless of geographic location or socioeconomic status. This is the future that AI can help us achieve. AI-driven platforms are already enabling personalized learning experiences. These systems can adapt to the pace and style of individual students, offering customized feedback and support that can greatly enhance learning outcomes. For example, intelligent tutoring systems can provide real-time assistance to students, guiding them through complex problems and concepts. This level of personalized and individualized attention was once the domain of private tutors. Now it can be made available to every student. Moreover, AI can significantly improve administrative efficiency within our schools. By automating routine tasks such as grading, scheduling, and data management, AI allows educators to spend more time on teaching and mentoring students. AI's data analytics capabilities also offer invaluable insights that can help educators identify at-risk students, optimize curricula, and make informed decisions about resource allocation. Perhaps one of the most exciting prospects of AI is its potential to bridge educational gaps. In remote and underserved areas where access to quality education has long been a challenge, AI can provide new opportunities for learning. Online platforms, one powered by AI, can deliver world-class educational content to students who might otherwise be left behind. This has the potential to democratize education in a way that was previously unimaginable. Yet with great power comes great responsibilities. While AI offers tremendous benefits, it also raises significant ethical concerns that we must confront. One of the foremost issues is data privacy and security. As we integrate AI into educational systems, we are collecting vast amounts of data on students, data that could include sensitive personal information. This raises a question: how do we protect this data from breaches, unauthorized access, or misuse? The potential risks are not hypothetical. Around the world, we have seen cases where inadequate data protection has led to serious privacy violations. In the context of education, such breaches could have severe consequences for students, affecting their academic records, personal lives, and future opportunities. Therefore, it is imperative that we must establish robust data protection and frameworks that safeguard the privacy and security of both students and educators. Another critical issue is bias and fairness in AI systems. AI algorithms are only as good as the data they are trained on. If the data reflects existing biases, whether based on race, gender, socioeconomic status, or other factors, the AI systems can inadvertently perpetuate and even exacerbate these biases. This is particularly concerning education, where fairness and equity are foundational principles. We must ensure that AI does not create new forms of discrimination or inequality in our classrooms. Moreover, there is the question of autonomy and human oversight. While AI can assist and augment the work of educators, there is a danger that it could also diminish their role or even replace them in certain areas. Education is not just about the transfer of knowledge, it's also about fostering critical thinking, creativity, and emotional intelligence, qualities that are deeply human. We must be careful to preserve the human touch in education and ensure that AI serves as a complement to rather than a replacement for educators. Given these ethical challenges, it is clear that we need a strong governance framework to guide the integration of AI into our educational system. I therefore propose 5 key principles that should underpin our approach to AI governance in education. First principle, equity and accessibility. The first principle is ensuring that AI education promotes equity and accessibility. One of the greatest promises of AI is the ability to personalize learning, allowing each student to progress at their own pace. This could be a game changer in a country like ours, where educational disparities are widespread. AI can also help bridge the gap between urban and rural schools, between well-funded institutions and those who struggle with resources. However, we must also be vigilant about the digital divide. Not all students have equal access to the necessary technology, and without careful planning, AI could inadvertently widen the gap rather than close it. Imagine a classroom in a remote province where students have never even used a computer. How do we ensure that they benefit from AI in the same way that students in Metro Manila do? As policymakers, our responsibility is to create frameworks that ensure equitable access to AI-driven tools and resources. This includes investing in infrastructure such as internet connectivity and digital devices, especially in underserved areas. Moreover, we must ensure that AI systems are designed to be inclusive, taking into account the diverse needs of students, including those with disabilities. The second principle is transparency and accountability. AI, by their very nature, operate based on algorithms that can be complex and opaque. While these systems can analyze vast amounts of data and provide valuable insights, they can also make decisions that are difficult to understand or challenge. In the context of education, this raises important ethical questions. For example, if an AI system is used to assess a student's performance or potential, how do we ensure that the decisions that it makes are fair and unbiased? How do we explain these decisions to students, parents, and educators? Transparency is crucial. AI systems used in education must be open to scrutiny with clear explanations on how decisions are made. Additionally, there must be mechanisms in place to hold these systems accountable. If a student is adversely affected by an AI-driven decision, there should be a clear process for reviewing and, if necessary, reversing that decision. This principle also extends to the data used by AI systems. Students' data is incredibly sensitive, and we must ensure that it is handled with utmost care. Privacy protections must be robust, and students and parents must be informed about how their data is being used. Third principle, ethical AI development and use. The third principle is the ethical development and use of AI in education. As we integrate AI into the educational system, we must prioritize ethics at every stage, from the development of AI technologies to their implementation in the classroom. One area of concern is the potential for bias in AI algorithms. If an AI system is trained on data that reflects existing inequalities, it can perpetuate or exacerbate those inequalities. For example, if an AI system is trained on data from a predominantly male population, it may inadvertently favor male students in its assessment. This kind of bias is unacceptable, especially in an educational context. To address this, we need to ensure that AI developers adhere to strict ethical guidelines. This includes diverse data sets, regularly auditing AI systems for bias, and involving educators and ethicists in the development process. Additionally, we must provide training for teachers and administrators on the ethical use of AI in education. Moreover, ethical AI development also means considering the broader societal impacts of artificial intelligence. As we introduce AI to our classrooms, we ask ourselves, what kind of future are we preparing our students for? Are we equipping them with the critical thinking skills needed to navigate a world increasingly shaped by AI? Are we ensuring AI is used to enhance rather than replace the human elements of education, such as creativity, empathy, and collaboration? Fourth principle, continuous learning and adaptation. The fourth principle is continuous learning and adaptation. AI is a rapidly evolving field, and our policies and practices must evolve alongside it. What is considered best practice today may be outdated tomorrow, and we must be prepared to adapt. This requires a commitment to ongoing research and development, as well as a continuous professional development of our educators. Teachers need to be equipped with the knowledge and skills to effectively integrate AI into their teaching, and this means providing them with regular training opportunities. Moreover, educators should be involved in the design and evaluation of AI tools, ensuring that these tools meet the real needs of students and teachers. At the policy level, continuous learning means regularly reviewing and updating our AI governance frameworks. This includes monitoring the impact of AI on education, gathering feedback from stakeholders, and being open to making adjustments as needed. For example, if we find that particular AI tool is not delivering the desired outcomes or is causing unintended harm, we must be willing to revise or discontinue its use. In addition, continuous adaptation also means fostering a culture of innovation within our educational system. AI offers us the opportunity to rethink traditional approaches to learning and thinking, and we must encourage educators to experiment with new methods and tools. However, this experimentation must be accompanied by rigorous evaluation, ensuring that any new approaches are effective and beneficial for all students. Fifth principle, collaborative governance. The fifth and final principle is collaborative governance. AI governance in education cannot be the sole responsibility of government. It requires collaboration between various stakeholders, including educators, students, parents, technology developers, and policymakers. This collaboration should begin with open dialogue. We need to engage with all stakeholders to understand their concerns, needs, and aspirations regarding AI in education. For example, students may have valuable insights on how AI can support their learning, while teachers may have concern about the impact of AI on their professional autonomy. By involving these voices in the policymaking process, we can develop more informed and effective AI governance frameworks. Moreover, collaborative governance also means building partnership with the private sector and academia. Many of the innovations in AI are coming from the private sector, and we need to work together to ensure that these innovations are aligned with our educational goals and ethical standards. Similarly, academia can provide valuable research and expertise to inform our AI policies and practices. In addition, international collaboration is essential. AI is a global phenomenon, and we can learn a great deal from the experiences of other countries. By participating in international forums and exchanges on AI governance, we can share best practices and contribute to the global dialogue on AI in education. As legislators, we have a unique role to play in shaping the future of AI, governance, and education. In recent years, we've seen growing interest in the legislative arena to address the ethical implications of AI. Existing laws and policies provide a foundation, but they must be strengthened and expanded to keep pace with the rapid development of AI technologies. Just recently, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos has highlighted the need for the Philippines to act fast in order to keep up with the evolution of artificial intelligence. In fact, during the World Economic Forum Roundtable in Malacanang early this year, one of the key topics discussed was how generative AI could play a role in the country's economic growth. Several legislative measures have already been passed in order to harness the expected benefits of embracing technological innovation, including AI. In 2019, Congress passed Republic Act number 11293, otherwise known as the Philippine Innovation Act, which declared innovation as a vital component of national development and sustainable economic growth. It calls for the creation of the National Innovation Council that will lead the whole of government coordination for the country's innovation governance and formulate the National Innovation Agenda and Strategy document, which contains the Philippines' vision and goals for its innovation ecosystem. In the same year, the Philippine Innovative Startup Act, Republic Act number 11337, was enacted into law, which established the Philippine Startup Development Program to provide benefits and incentives for startups and startup enablers. In 2021, the Philippine government launched the National Artificial Intelligence Roadmap with a vision of transforming the Philippines into an AI hub within the ASEAN region. The roadmap outlines strategic priorities and responsibilities for the government, industry, and academia. One key recommendation is establishment of the National Center for AI Research, also known as the NCARE, led by the private sector. NCARE will function as a shared research hub for AI in the country, supporting the digital transformation of Filipino businesses and industries. The implementation of strategies under the roadmap offers opportunities for U.S. companies to provide the necessary technology and services for connectivity and research and development. Building on the foundation of the 2021 AI Roadmap, a new National AI Strategy Roadmap, or the NAISR 2.0, was released early this year to incorporate new technologies like generative AI to harness a new opportunity for the Philippine economy and enhance the lives of its citizens. This forward-thinking strategy adapts to the rapidly changing AI landscape, incorporating emerging themes like ethics and governance to ensure responsible and beneficial AI deployment. The NAISR 2.0 seeks to address critical challenges hindering AI adoption in the country, including limited use cases of AI, limited human and physical resources within industries, and the difficulties faced by enterprises in developing data strategies, and the uncertainties surrounding AI regulation and legal frameworks. To accelerate the integration of AI, NAISR 2.0 prioritizes increasing the national research and development budget to the UNESCO recommended target of 1% of the country's gross domestic product, a crucial step in fostering economic transformation. Currently, the Philippine gross expenditure on research and development stands at a mere 0.30% of GDP. Additionally, upskilling and reskilling the workforce to meet the growing demand for AI and data science professionals remains a top priority. These initiatives aim to enhance the Philippines' capacity for innovation and technological advancement, ultimately improving the lives of its citizens. Several legislative measures in relation to AI have already been filed. Representative Joey Salceda authored House Bill 7600, which empowers the Intellectual Property Office to block websites using generative AI containing copyright infringed material. House Bill 7983 by Representative Keith Micah Tan has proposed the creation of the Philippine Council on Artificial Intelligence. Authored by Representative Robert Ace Barber's House Bill number 7396, or the Act Promoting the Development and Regulation of AI in the Philippines, seeks to create the Artificial Intelligence Development Authority, or AIDA, which will oversee the development and deployment of all AI technologies. AIDA's responsibilities include developing a national AI strategy, establishing standards for ethical AI use, and ensuring compliance with AI guidelines. This bill aims to align national priorities with international standards, focusing on data protection, transparency, and responsible AI development. Nonetheless, despite the best efforts of said legislators, Congress has yet to pass the comprehensive legislation that will provide the overarching legal governance framework for artificial intelligence and its varied practical applications, including education. This framework, I believe, should be based on the principles I have outlined today and will include measures to ensure transparency, accountability, equity, and inclusivity in the use of AI. These guiding principles, however, should not only set to limit the risk of AI, but more so provide an enabling environment that would allow users and stakeholders, particularly in the field of education, to build on opportunities brought about by the growing use of generative AI while simultaneously protecting academic rigor and integrity, and in the process shape the future of this technology on their own terms. But legislation alone is not enough. From my own perspective, legislation go only so far, but ultimately, a national AI strategy cannot be imposed from the top down. Instead, it must be anchored on a whole-of-nation approach. This necessitates breaking down silos and fostering closer collaboration between government, education institutions, the private sector, and civil society. By working together, we can develop policies that reflect the diverse needs and perspective of all stakeholders. It is important, especially in the field of education, to work closely with stakeholders in harnessing AI as a means to co-create outcomes and to clearly explain to them the importance of such frameworks. Lastly, we must also engage in dialogue with international organizations and learn from the experience of other countries that are grappling with the same challenges. In conclusion, AI has the potential to revolutionize education in the Philippines, offering new opportunities for personalized learning, improved outcomes, and greater equity. However, to realize this potential, we must navigate carefully the ethical implications and challenges that come with artificial intelligence. The 5 principles that I propose today, equity and accessibility, transparency and accountability, ethical AI development and use, continuous learning and adaptation, and collaborative governance, can provide a basis for a comprehensive legal framework for responsible AI governance, including AI governance in education. By adhering to these principles, we can ensure that AI serves the best interests of our students, our educators, and society as a whole. As a member of the House of Representatives, I'm committed to work with all of you to develop policies that promote the ethical and effective use of AI in education. Together, we can harness the power of AI to create a brighter future for our students and for our country. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Isidre, for providing us with your insights on the importance of a robust and contextualized policy. So for now, we are also grateful to our online participants for your active engagement in the comment section. So before we started this webinar, we were already getting a lot of questions regarding AI governance. We will note your questions down and we will ready them for the Q&A session with our speakers later on. So in this regard, let me use this opportunity to acknowledge some of our viewers from the Philippines. Namely, we have some from Ilocos Sur, Mandaluyong, Samar, Zamboanga, and from internationally, we have viewers from Japan, India, Belize, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Qatar. So you may also use this opportunity to speak with other viewers and have discussions regarding our topics for today. So let's have a fruitful and insightful session. AI governance is manifested not only in national level legislation, but also in its implementation at the school level. School guidelines and policies are guided by ethical principles to ensure that learners are not only capable, but also humane. For additional insights on ethical considerations on the use of AI in the Philippine context, we have invited another notable speaker. So let me introduce to you Father Jesus J. M. Miranda Jr. He is a Filipino Roman Catholic priest belonging to the Order of Preachers, or the Dominicans, doing his ministry at the University of Santo Tomas, Manila, Philippines. He is the editor of the Filipiniana Sacra, the research journal of the ecclesiastical faculties of UST. He is the former Secretary General of the University of Santo Tomas. He specializes in educational leadership and management and organization studies. He teaches at the ecclesiastical faculties of UST and belongs to its Faculty of Philosophy. At the same time, he teaches educational leadership and management values and value system trends in the educational development and more at the Graduate School of UST and at the Department of the Educational Leadership and Management of the Brother Andrew Gonzalez College of Education of the De La Salle University, Manila, a regular columnist of the Manila Times. So please welcome Father Jesus J. Miranda Jr.
OP. I'm a Dominican priest doing my ministry at the University of Santo Tomas, Manila. I am a member of the faculty of the Graduate School of the University of Santo Tomas, as well as its ecclesiastical faculties. I also teach part-time at the Brother Andrew Gonzalez College of Education of the De La Salle University, also in Manila. And I suppose I'm being invited here in this conference organized by SEAMEO INNOTECH as a priest and as a Catholic priest at that, in order to be able to share some insights as the organization, your organization is trying to formulate some ethical policies that it needs for its development. And so I'm here, in a way, presenting some basic tenets and ethical principles in presenting the church teaching on ethical principles, in expanding some thoughts that you may have, which can be incorporated in formulation of policies and all other principles which you want to formulate in order to understand better and to carry out better ethically the use of artificial intelligence in education. And so to lay the foundation of this discussion as regards ethical principles, this gift of self is manifested through, with, and in the body. So this lays also some of the foundational principle of ethical action. And why am I, in a way, putting this on the table as regards ethical principle? Because whether you will like it or not, when artificial intelligence is being used, it can touch this, and that we will see later on. Respect this dignity, rationality, freedom that we have. And so that is at the center of the teaching, ethical teaching of the church. And so we question things that are against it. We question actions. We question sometimes, excuse me for the word, evil, evil plans, dubious use of the sciences in order to compromise what human dignity is all about. Sometimes we justify it in the name of progress, and so we create this technology, we create these forms of gadgets and all this and the rest in the name of progress, but actually they are there that put compromises to human dignity. Is this happening now? It can happen, especially with the particular issue that we are facing. And what is that? The use of artificial intelligence. And in what sense? So this is something we should look into. Can augmenting our humanity through artificial intelligence really possible? Artificial intelligence can only affect the condition of humans, but not its inherent nature. I hope you got that clear. Okay? It can affect the condition of humans. It can become more maybe comfortable. He can work faster. Things become easy for him in achieving his goal, his work, his task, his objective, in service of his fellow humans, in the service of his organization, institution. Let's see some concrete examples of this. Artificial intelligence impactful contribution to humans. Of course, it has a impactful contribution. Much of the time positive. And I think that's what we would like to convert, no? Positive things that AI can contribute to humans. But the thing is, as I mentioned a while ago, there's an obscurity that is becoming perceivable when it already tries to knock on the door of touching that is mentioned a while ago, the elements that are inherent in humans. And I think we have to be aware of that. And what are those? Let's see. In one of the articles in my column, the Manila Times, being a regular columnist in the paper, I mentioned that cyborg technology, I think, very much related to artificial intelligence, that is powered by AI, is already in our midst. And humans are being melded with technology, which was unthinkable in the past, as I mentioned. Such technology can already replace missing limbs, damaged organs, and limited senses. Thus, it will be a common scenario to see humans with enhanced dexterity, increased strength, and heightened senses, no longer availing of the services of health centers, but making all these technological advancements available to everyone. You see the first challenge it makes? And the breakthrough it's making? Enhancing human bodily capacities. And we have mentioned a while ago the theology of the body of John Paul II. Such upgrading of physical attributes is no longer just a scene from a science fiction movie. Before, we just used to watch them, okay? Sci-fi movies. But actually, it's already here with us and part of our reality. To what extent could this affect the principle of unified totality? See, we go back to the theology of body of John Paul II. Keeping the human physical integrity that completes the overall human dignity. John Paul II mentions about theology of the body being the venue, being the vehicle of grace, being the vehicle of charitable actions. Okay? Now, how could you still consider it a body if half of it is already being run by artificial intelligence? Okay? So, how could that human physical integrity be addressed? So, what are the principles? If one half of the body is already run by robotics or cyborg, is it still considered human? If one part of it, maybe only the limb or one of the arms, one of the legs is missing and it's already run by artificial intelligence, it is enhanced, and so on. So how would you consider that? You see, that's why I pointed out those principles, ethical principles in treating the body, theology of the body by John Paul II. and also something that is inherent in man. Why? Because AI has an implication, has an implication on what we do with those. The body that is enhanced artificially, the body that is being strengthened and developed better, not by nature, not by natural means, but by technology. In my one of the in the article that I wrote, AI's pervading issues in Catholic education, and I continue with that article. We get shocked by headlines today about AI that with an Ivy League school will start using AI as instructors in the coming semester, and AI doctors. I think you have heard of them. Tech companies are testing AI chatbots like Bard and ChatGPT in hospitals. As AI progresses on a massive scale, will it have the same status or importance as the one who developed it? Are we already on equal footing when it comes to dignity with the things that man created? Of course, you will say, oh, that's only a robot or that's only a technology made by man. But remember, what you can do, he can also do. And he can replace you. At the forefront of this discussion are looming gray areas begging for philosophico-theological clarity. That is to situate artificial intelligence along the concept of the dignity of the human person, his virtues, and the solidarity of humans. And I think that's where technology could not get in. Why? Because it's only a tool made by man. How can he have a virtue? How can he speak about solidarity with humans when it is not human? Okay, how can you speak about that technology having dignity? Is it because it can do equally or even better what man can do, and so it can replace humans? With that article that I have in my column, Artificial Intelligence Pervading Issues in Catholic Education. So ethical concerns regarding AI may arise, especially regarding its correct use, its intention, and its absence. The crux of the matter has something to do with the possibility that smart machines can already think better than humans in many ways. Vicariously, as technology scientists would claim, certain elements of human judgment can already be dispensable in deciding some of the most essential things in life. And some moral and ethical questions will certainly arise regarding the determination of the degree of human culpability, accountability, and responsibility. Okay? So since what man has ingeniously created is something as efficient or more efficient than humans have, okay, can it lessen when it acts? When it acts? When it's into action, can it lessen the culpability of man? Can it lessen its accountability, its responsibility? Okay, well, it is the artificial intelligence that did it. It is the cyborg, the robots that did it. Can man say, then I have nothing? I have nothing to do with that. My conscience is clear. Can you really say that? So does it lessen your culpability when some mistakes take place, when accidents happen? Can you take away your accountability? Can you take away your responsibility? Even if you say what you have been doing have been replaced by something that is efficient, robots, cyborg, artificial intelligence, and so on. So the near future has arrived for artificial intelligence to decide and determine its own specific purpose or end. With so many scientific breakthroughs happening at breakneck speed and artificial intelligence continue to develop. We're just at the beginning. Okay? So as scientific breakthroughs happening at breakneck speed, can we say AI will soon replace human intelligence? Can the concept and practice of freedom be applied to it? Can it be held accountable for its actions and decisions? The line that separates human beings from machines is now blurring. And it will continue to blur more. And I think the oxymoron is the blur continues to get clearer. See the oxymoron? Blurred division has become so stark, has become so clear. Okay, and I think those are the things we need to consider, even as we use AI in education, as regards replacing teachers with AI, replacing some activities conducted already by AI. I think these are the things we need to put into consideration. Putting dignity, the will, the freedom that are inherent in man that could be transgressed or by the use of technology. That's why we need to be aware of those. Okay? And so, Pope Francis audience at the Vatican with participants in the Minerva Dialogues in March 27, just last year, he mentioned that technology has been immensely beneficial to humans, especially in the fields of medicine, engineering, and communications. Science and technology, he said, have practical benefits, and I think that's obvious, and are evidence of man's ability to participate responsibly in God's creative action. From this perspective, the Pope said, I am convinced that the development of artificial intelligence and machine learning has the potential to contribute in a positive way to the future of humanity. We cannot dismiss it. At the same time, I am certain that this potential will be realized only if there is a constant and consistent commitment on the part of those developing these technologies to act ethically and responsibly. And I think that's why we are having this conference, this discussion, because we want to know better how can we use AI not in abusing man and not in abusing children in the use of education, but how it can really be useful in teaching and learning. And so what we need, as Pope Francis mentioned, we need the constant and consistent commitment of those people developing technology. You cannot be more ethical and even more, especially when you are involved with this technology that spells the future, success, and also development. Had that AI image, he says, we cannot allow algorithms to limit or condition respect for human dignity or to exclude compassion, mercy, forgiveness, and above all, the hope that people are able to change. You see, the inherent things still cannot be changed. They cannot be altered. You cannot add to it. You cannot subtract from it. Why? Because they are inherent there. They are always there, integrally intact. Even no matter how you make AI intelligent, it cannot be a tool that could transgress and destroy these inherent values that are in man. And so Pope Francis reiterated the Church's stance on the protection of human dignity, noting that a person's fundamental value cannot be measured by data alone. Man is not just another data. He's more than that because he has dignity, he has free will, and rationality. So anything that could enter into an obstruction in realizing who man is as a man created in the image of God, that should be stopped, that should be corrected. And if AI is going that direction, I think it should be stopped and it should be corrected. It should be redirected for its proper use. And so vigilance on being a church preserving humanity becomes more urgent. And I hope when we consider this, we put it in a context of how can it how can AI be beneficial to education? Because there's vigilance on being a church, there should be vigilance on being educators, on being a school, vigilance on being an learning institution, vigilance on being a higher learning institution, for example, if you are a university. Okay? we should have vigilance for these learning institutions, making sure that we are preserving humanity, we're preserving the real goal and the real human process of teaching and learning. Okay, I hope it could be translated into that. And that's why this ethical principle needs to be taken into consideration. And so, vigilance for humanity would mean, I hope this could help, having some insights on what we can do. Humans becoming self-sufficient, not anymore part of community. They are closer to gadget than to fellow humans. And I think you yourselves have noticed that. We are so self-sufficient, not anymore in a good sense, to the point that we don't want to belong anymore to a community. Why much of the time we are with our gadgets. We are self-sustaining. And I think this is the last one. The noblest way as humans to use our rationality, free will, and appreciate our dignity is when we make judgments, decision makings, and arriving at life decisions that are not delegated to AI. And so it's about ethical, moral, human judgment versus artificial intelligence. AI can never substitute us in making a very human decision, no matter maybe how limited we are, human as we are. Still, it should be a decision made by humans, not by artificial intelligence, on the decisions that we make. And I think this is the last one. AI and technology want us to have objects plenty, fast, and easy. But our humanity instead is in continuous search for meaning and truth. We need to reflect how education is understood and practiced now. Choose meaning more than productivity. And I think AI is here to make life easy, fast, plenty. But is life it's just all about that? Is that what we only teach in education? Okay, about materialism, about economics, about earning more, profitability? Or can we teach more, being educators, about gaining meaning, which AI can never provide? It's only humans who reflect can provide that depth of finding meaning as in life as humans. And so as a conclusion, it is reassuring to know, as Pope Francis said, that many people in these fields are working to ensure that technology remains human-centered, ethically grounded, and directed towards the good. And I think these are the last words that I would like also to mention to educators like you, formulating policies for progress, for development in the use of AI in education. Okay? How can we retain, being educators, the best use of technology, of AI, yet retain human-centeredness, ethically grounded, and works and teaching and learning that is directed toward what is good. No matter how advanced we can become through the use of AI in education, still we have to retain that education is all about being human. It's all about an ethical principle grounded and directed toward the good. And so with that, I thank you for inviting me in this session. Hopefully, in the formulation and the task of formulating policies that you have in the development of teaching and learning in SEAMEO INNOTECH, hopefully you will be able. Hopefully, the insights that I mentioned, something that would contribute to it. So with that, I thank you SEAMEO INNOTECH, and hopefully the insights that I was able to share with you from the Catholic ethical principles would be of help. So to everyone, good afternoon and thank you.
Thank you, Father Miranda, for that illuminating discussion. Now we are more aware of the ethical considerations for AI integration in education, but also not only in education, but also as a general philosophy. So we have a poll for you. So do you think that there should be strict regulations on AI used in education? So cast your vote through our polls on Facebook and YouTube, which you will be seeing on your screen. So once again, do you think there should be strict regulations on AI used in education? Yes or no? So now I know many of you are glad to be a part of these insightful discussions, straight from our local experts. Moving forward, to start a discussion on the regional context of AI governance in Southeast Asia, allow me to call on Ms. Sangay Thinley and Ms. Sarah Thang from EdTech Hub. So EdTech Hub is a research initiative under the ASEAN UK SAGE program, which aims to improve foundational learning outcomes of Southeast Asian learners using technology. Ms. Sangay Thinley is an education specialist focused on using technology to address learning challenges in low-resourced environments. As Asia Specialist and Help Desk Portfolio Manager at the EdTech Hub, she works closely with decision makers in South and Southeast Asia to support evidence-based approaches to the use of EdTech. Accompanying her is Ms. Sarah Thang. She is an education and public policy professional with over a decade of experience working with public, private, and academic sectors as an educator and a leader of research to practice partnerships. At EdTech Hub, she serves as its Southeast Asia lead, as well as Help Desk Portfolio and Delivery Manager, bringing evidence into practice through close collaboration with practitioners, policymakers, and development partners around the globe. A native of Singapore, Sarah holds a master's in international education policy from Harvard Graduate School of Education and a bachelor's of music and music composition or theory, English, and Asian Studies from Vanderbilt University. So please welcome Ms. Sangay and Ms. Sarah.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for having us with you to talk about AI governance in education. My name is Sarah Tang. I lead EdTech Hub's portfolio of work in Southeast Asia. And with me today is my colleague Sandy Finley, who manages our help desk in Southeast Asia, through which we're able to provide just-in-time support to decision makers. We thought we'd just kick off today's presentation by talking briefly about who and what the EdTech Hub is. We are a global research and evidence to action partnership, and our goal is to empower people by giving them the evidence that they need to make decisions about technology in education. We know that technology has the potential to help address the global learning crisis, but we also realize that that potential is not being fully realized at the moment. Policymakers and decision makers have a huge amount of choices when it comes to technology options, but the evidence on that is often unclear regarding what works or what doesn't. And what that means is that decision makers are forced to make decisions based on limited to no evidence. So at EdTech Hub, our goal is to really support decision makers in this process, and we do so by taking a problem-driven approach rather than a technology-first approach. So to us, we are agnostic about whether decision makers use technology or not, or even what kinds of technology they use. Really, we're just trying to help answer questions such as, what is the education challenge we are trying to solve? What are potential solutions? And is there an appropriate and effective solution, application of technology in the solution? So to that end, we have these 5 guiding questions that we often raise with decision makers. 1, will the use of technology lead to a sustained impact on learning outcomes? 2, will this choice of technology work for the most marginalized children and ensure or enhance equity in our education system? 3, will this technology be feasible to scale in a cost-effective manner and in a way that is affordable for whatever context that we are working in or using the technology in? 4, Will the use of technology be effective in the specific implementation context? And 5, are our choices aligned with government priorities and strategic plans? And will it ultimately lead to the strengthening of the national education system? To support decision makers in their kind of process and knowledge, we have accrued evidence on the following 8 topic areas. This list is by no means exhaustive. EdTech Hub does work in a range of related topic areas that are not on the screen, but you'll see what you see highlighted here are just some of the areas that we feel are especially salient when it comes to decision making with EdTech. So with that in mind, I'll turn it over to my colleague Sagi to talk about some ways in which AI is being used in education.
Thank you, Sarah. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what are some of the ways in which AI is used in education. When looking at the policy environment across several countries in Southeast Asia, and how they address the use of AI in education, it's noteworthy that although countries in the region are yet to develop national policies specifically around edtech usage in education, AI usage in education, the topic has been addressed across several national education sector plans, as well as it has been addressed in national AI strategies. So a lot of countries have national AI strategies for general usage of AI in the country, but we see that the focus on how it can be used for education is featured as a component in these documents or in the education sector plans. An example is that in Singapore, the use of AI in education is addressed in Singapore's National Artificial Intelligence Strategy, as well as in the EdTech Master Plan of 2030. In Thailand, it's addressed in Thailand's AI Thailand strategy, which is the country's national AI strategy and action plan that covers the years 2022 to 2027. Other countries in the region, such as Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines and Vietnam, have also prioritized AI in education regulation and are either on the road to developing or have already developed strategies for AI in education. Given the nascent nature of AI in education, and specifically in this region, much of the focus currently is spent on building AI capacities and on enhancing AI literacy. However, there are still a few examples where we see there are a few examples emerging from Vietnam and Singapore where we see use cases of integrating AI into real life contexts and classrooms as well. An example here is that in Singapore, the Ministry of Education adopted an AI approach to teaching mathematics in public primary schools across the nation in 2023 as a follow up to a 2-year pilot project that involved 33 schools. So we do see that in addition to capacity building, we are moving towards a space where integration of AI into real time practice is actually taking place in the region. Beyond pilot projects and government initiatives, we are also seeing a widespread adoption of AI-driven edtech solutions across Southeast Asia, particularly in countries like Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. These tend to cover topics such as personalized learning platforms, AI tutoring systems, and smart classroom technologies. Oftentimes, the integration is self initiated by teachers and schools. However, governments have tried to keep pace with these changes in integration and support the integration through providing funding and developing policies and opportunities for building literacy and developing AI competencies among teachers and students as well. So, really trying to provide systematic support to these self initiated integration approaches as well. In addition to knowing what current AI trends are offering, it's also important for policymakers to recognize that much like the general edtech ecosystem in Southeast Asia, the AI in education space is also being pushed forward primarily by the private sector players such as Google, Tencent, and Alibaba. As such, when developing policies and guidelines, it's important for policymakers to strongly consider the role of public-private partnerships in establishing effective use of AI in education across the region. Additionally, this is some good news for policymakers who are trying to develop guidelines around the use of generative AI in education in their context, is that governments don't need to start from scratch when developing these policies. because there's lots of work that's been done by international organizations such as UNESCO and the World Bank in developing guidelines and resources that policymakers can use to support their own efforts. So really it's important to utilize all of the resources at hand and sort of build and leapfrog forward on existing resources and opportunities. However, despite the existence of an emerging national emerging strong ecosystem for AI strategies, as well as widespread integration of edtech solutions and active public-private partnerships that might be taking place, it's important for policymakers across the region to recognize that the region still faces significant challenges, including digital divide, infrastructural gaps, skill deficiencies among teachers, and complex policy and ethical considerations. And addressing these challenges is crucial to realizing the full potential of AI in transforming education across Asia. We will talk about these a lot in more detail in a later section during the presentation. So, keeping in mind the challenges that exist when policymakers are designing and developing guidelines and frameworks for regulating the use of generative AI in education, it's important to be asking a few questions. The first is, how can governments effectively guide the use of AI for education? Second is, how is AI more likely to lead to sustained impact on learning outcomes? And thirdly, how can AI work for the most marginalized children and learners to enhance equity? So, talking about how governments can effectively guide the use of AI for education, there are when developing AI in education policies, there are some underlying principles that are important to be considered, and we can lean on global and regional guidelines to understand what these principles are. UNESCO's guidelines for generative AI in education and research encourages the use of a human-centered approach to AI. What this means is that it stresses the importance of ensuring that AI is used to support and augment human capabilities rather than replacing them. And there's also a focus on ensuring that AI in education is inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. These sentiments are also echoed in the ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics, and the regional document also highlights the importance of building AI frameworks and infrastructure that are interoperable across the region, which would then allow for knowledge sharing and leapfrogging. So there creates an opportunity then for the countries in the region to learn from one another and to be able to leverage each other's knowledge base instead of starting from scratch in each context. That being said, it's important to recognize the diversity of the countries in the region and understand that although there are some key takeaways that can be learned from each other as neighbors as well as global best practices, it's incredibly important to take a contextualized approach to developing education and AI policies. Here are a few steps that are put forward by UNESCO's guidelines when considering the development of generative AI in education. So I don't think that these need to be followed in any chronological order or to a T in any way, but they highlight some of the key important considerations for developing a comprehensive AI in education policy. The first starts really with data protection and regulation because AI really is guided by data inputs. And it's important for us to make sure that we are using the right data, protecting data that's being used, and making sure that data is being managed in an efficient manner moving forward. Additionally, it's important to take a whole government approach on strategy, a whole government approach to strategies, given that both AI and education really cut across multiple sectors, multiple stakeholders, and multiple agencies. So there's no one stakeholder that can really take it forward. It needs to be a collaborative approach, and the strategies need to reflect that. And there also needs to be keen consideration for ethics in the use of AI, as well as copyright law and regulatory frameworks. So there are a lot of legal considerations as well as ethical guidelines that need to be considered. And at the heart of it all, it's most important to build capacity and also reflect on long-term implications. So given the fact that AI changes in such a rapid pace, it's important for the policies and strategies to have space for reflection and make sure that the strategies are moving in the right direction and are keeping pace with the advancements that we see in the AI space. From the EdTech Hub's perspective, we offer some questions that guide the integration of AI in education. We call this our signal framework. And really, we try to cover questions around security, infrastructure, governance, nurturing of talent, access, and local solutions. And these questions are designed to make sure that when countries and policymakers are developing strategies, frameworks, and guidelines for using AI in education, we're designing something that is tailor made and specific for that context and best meets and serves the needs of the context that we're looking at. So, this is a framework that we put forward, and we think that we ask these questions when developing strategies. It really helps guide and make sure that the AI interventions are designed for purpose as well. I'll pass over now to Sarah to talk a little bit about how we might use AI to help lead sustained impact on learning outcomes.
Thanks very much, Sanjay. So now thinking about drilling down to the next level, what does it look like on the ground when thinking about AI and learning outcomes? I'll start with a couple of bigger picture pieces and then drill down further to even more specifics. Thinking about what does impact and sustainability look like when thinking about AI in education and making sure that we are prioritizing these two factors. I think we understand that integrating AI into education isn't just about adopting new technologies. There are many of these and they are changing all the time. But really, it's about thinking about how we can transform today's educational practices in order to prepare students for a future in which AI plays a major role. And we can do this in three primary ways. First, to think strategically about the integration of AI into our education systems. Second, to think about how we can meaningfully integrate AI into existing pedagogical approaches or how these need to evolve into the direction that we hope that it will go with the incorporation of AI. And third, to make sure that we are considering ethical factors when using AI. And we hope that by considering these three key factors, that educators really can capitalize on AI to create learning experiences that are even more engaging, personalized, and effective for our students. The other sort of bigger picture factor to consider is infrastructure and data management. Of course, we know that without robust IT infrastructure, it would be very difficult to implement AI solutions or technologies. And so schools need to have the necessary IT infrastructure to support, including internet bandwidth, hardware, as well as software. And of course, with AI comes along data privacy and security questions. And so these data protection measures need to be thoughtful and strong to ensure that student data is secured. Going down a little bit deeper and more specifics, one of the key pillars, of course, to our education systems are teachers, and supporting them and ensuring that they have the training that they need in order to move forward with AI technologies is really critical. And we think it's important to start by asking the question, how might teachers' roles evolve? And this could look a few different ways, but we think that one, the automation of administrative tasks could be quite transformative through the use of AI, and perhaps even some instructional tasks could be taken over by AI as well. The benefit to this is that we imagine that teachers could be freed up to do more personalized learning as well as student mentoring, which could be really beneficial for students, especially when we think about teaching at the right level. It may also allow them to focus on other key aspects of student development, such as social emotional learning, which is really important when we're thinking about developing the whole child. When we're thinking about supporting teachers, of course, it's not just about providing them with new information. It's also important to acknowledge what teachers' existing concerns might be. The list that we have on the screen are just some sample questions that we might get from teachers. It's by no means exhaustive, but the very way that EdTech is implemented can impact how teachers feel about it, and addressing these concerns will be a really important step into effective AI integration into an education system. There is a common misconception that digital learning solutions will eventually replace the role of the teacher, when in fact the literature shows us that teachers play an incredibly critical role in ensuring that EdTech interventions are used in a way that is high impact for student outcomes. So what does supporting teachers look like? Of course, we know that the first key thing is to provide training for teachers. And effective AI integration requires that teachers, one, be familiar with AI technology, what it is, how to use it. Two, be prepared to teach about it. But three, and critically, to know how to integrate it well and effectively into their pedagogical approaches. One-time trainings, of course, are insufficient. We need to ensure that teachers have ongoing support and learning so that they're able to stay up to date on the latest best practices and resources, which we know are constantly evolving. Other ways that schools or districts or decision makers might consider when it comes to effective integration. One is to think about what rapid research at the school level might look like. This could yield really valuable information for us in understanding what is happening in schools, what is working well, and what are some challenges that teachers are facing, which could really inform the choices and decisions that are being made at the strategic and policy level. Two, identifying and training champion teachers who could provide professional development and other guidance to their schools and district when it comes to the use of AI. Three, considering what a community of practice might look like, a space where teachers can go to learn more information, but also receive support when they face challenges with implementing AI solutions or tools. And then four, ensuring that we are really listening to our teachers, collecting feedback from them, and creating a safe space where teachers feel free to share their thoughts so that we can iterate on what is working well and to address issues that are currently in the system. Beyond teachers, of course, there are other critical aspects of the education system that need to be addressed. Curriculum alignment and development is one of them. We think that AI should not replace the core curriculum, but really decision makers and policymakers should consider how AI can complement existing curricula, integrate it into existing subjects so that students understand the myriad of ways in which AI can be applied. And then secondly, we need to be thinking about how curriculum can develop skills in our students that are relevant to AI, such as data literacy and ethics. Of course, students are at the heart of everything that we do. And so we mentioned this briefly earlier, but thinking about how AI can better enhance student-centered learning approaches. So one example of this would be to use AI to tailor the difficulty and style of content based on where students are at, as well as their interests and their learning styles. AI can also be used to enhance 21st century skills in students, such as by encouraging critical thinking, by integrating complex real-world problems into the curriculum. Of course, and we've mentioned a few times now, the question of ethics. Students need to learn to build their judgment around ethical use of AI, and that includes issues such as privacy, bias, and fairness. This will enable them to become responsible users of AI and eventually creators of AI technologies themselves. We also need to consider the most marginalized students in our education system to ensure that AI tools are accessible to them as well, including students with disabilities, those from diverse and varied linguistic backgrounds, as well as socioeconomic backgrounds, and to ensure that we're not exacerbating any inequities that are already in our system. Further, we need to be thinking longer term about the implications of AI usage in schools for students, and this includes real-world applications and career readiness. We need to show students how AI can be used and is being used in various industries to help them connect their learning to real-world career paths as well as applications. And then we need to help students develop pathways and guide them towards potential careers in AI, data science, or other related fields. So I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I'll turn it over to Sangi to talk in a little bit more detail around how AI could work for our most marginalized students.
Thank you, Sarah. Generative AI presents the opportunity to transform education in low and middle income countries as well as marginalized communities across Southeast Asia and the world, and by creating more adaptive and inclusive and effective learning environments. However, in order to do this, we need to make sure that the technology is being used in a thoughtful manner and that challenges that exist around access and equity are being addressed from the get go. And in order to do that, we try to make sure that we really stress the importance of equity, inclusion, and sustainability when pushing forward anything to do with AI guidelines and frameworks and regulations. It is important to consider that there are some risks when using AI to support education in marginalized communities. The first is the digital divide and equity issues. Access to technology and the internet remains uneven across many low and middle income countries as well as marginalized communities. Ensuring that AI driven tools are accessible to all students, including those in remote and rural areas, is absolutely crucial. Second, it's important to consider cultural relevance and biases that exist. So, AI models that are trained on data from high income countries or countries outside of the Southeast Asia region might not adequately reflect the diverse cultural context of LMICs, specifically in the Southeast Asian region. And developing and training AI systems using locally relevant data is crucial to avoid cultural misrepresentation. Additionally, infrastructure and data privacy concerns are important to be considered as well. Many marginalized communities lack the infrastructure to support bandwidth connectivity and secure data storage, which are two things that are actually very, very essential for implementing AI solutions. Addressing these issues or having thought through these issues and having proposed solutions for these from the get go and strategies is key to harnessing AI's full potential without burdening communities that are using these technologies solutions. Additionally, as Sarah stressed earlier as well, but is really important to stress here, we recognize that teacher training and technological literacy is really important to address across the Southeast Asian region, particularly in low resource environments. The successful integration of AI in education requires that teachers are trained using the tools effectively and that we're making strategic investments in professional development to ensure that the technology is sustainably used over time as well, and that we're not trying to replace the human element of teaching with these tools, rather augment it, as we mentioned earlier as well. Additionally, we need to make sure that we're considering sustainability and long-term support. For AI and education to be sustainable, we need to make sure that there's continuous support and maintenance that is being provided. It's important to consider collaborations, like I mentioned earlier, with private sectors or with local NGOs and other international organizations to make sure that there is sustainability and long-term impact. So in summary, based on a lot of the things that we've shared so far, there are a few key considerations that we think are important for policymakers who are developing or in the process of thinking how to develop policies and guidelines around the use of generative AI in education. The first is the need to address biases through equitable data representation. To prevent biased outcomes, we need to ensure that AI models are trained using data from diverse and representative samples from marginalized groups, and then models are trained on non-representative data are not being used as they can exacerbate inequalities. They have the potential to exacerbate existing inequalities. Additionally, it's important for us to consider investing in culturally sensitive models, such as AI systems that have been trained and understand cultural context of the learners that they serve. So this includes language nuances, cultural references, and norms that are specific to different communities. We also think that it's really important to consider how we can safeguard learner data, because a lot of AI usage is dependent on data. We need to protect the privacy and security of marginalized learners, especially those learners who might be more vulnerable to data misuse or exploitation. And lastly, one of the things that we think is important to stress is that we want to make sure that AI is empowering education and empowering learning. We want to ensure that the tools are not just used for marginalized learners and other learners, but that the learners are also included and educated on how they can use AI and are empowered to use AI to further their own learning outcomes. So really, we need to make sure that we're making the right investments in ensuring that AI literacy is being AI literacy is really being pushed forward across the Southeast Asia region. So that's these are a few considerations that we think are important from our end. We hope this has been helpful to everyone who's been listening, and happy to address any questions that might emerge in the Q&A section later. Thank you, everyone.
That was a very comprehensive discussion on the Southeast Asian context of AI governance in education. Thank you, Ms. Sangay and Ms. Sarah. I would also like to remind our viewers to stay tuned for our Q&A session later on. So keep sending your questions and we'll try to address them all with our speakers later. Finally, we have Dr. Shitanshu Mishra from UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development to share with us his thoughts and insights on AI governance in education in the Southeast Asian region.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Shitanshu Mishra. I work with UNESCO's Category 1 Educational Research Institute. With the vision of building kinder brains, my institute focuses on transforming education towards SDG 4.7, specifically education for peace and sustainable development. Before discussing anything on education, let's recall the primary purpose of education. According to a report that MGIP released in recent years, human flourishing was recognized as the main aspirations of education, which essentially advocates harmony and well-being for all. The key findings of the report emphasized importance of personalized learning and importance of digital technology and AI for personalized learning. Three of the crucial truths that most of us acknowledge are: AI is inevitable, AI is an opportunity, and AI is threat. This threat part is the most important of all. There are a large number of questions that we need to keep asking to ourselves. For example, how would you feel if your child's access to quality education is determined solely by availability of some AI system? Scary or very scary? Another scary question: can you trust an AI system trained using some biased data? If the quality of education is tied with the quality of AI, the threats related to AI are bound to translate to education. AI in education provides affordances to scale up at least 3 E's. AI can help improve efficiency, it can improve effectiveness of educational process, and also it can improve or promote equity. However, all these affordances should be enjoyed provided the fourth E, which is ethics, is maintained. Ethics of AI in education needs to be dealt as a new discipline or new separate discipline, which is obviously informed by pre-existing disciplines such as education, AI, ethics, AI in education. Ethics of AI in education can be better understood if we focus on 3 intersecting dimensions, which are data, dimensions of algorithms, and dimensions of educational approaches. However, one of our awaited report proposes to also emphasize on the 4th dimension of users, specifically learners. Ethics of AI in education is a continuous negotiations of these 4 dimensions. For example, the moment you focus on special learners, more accurate AI recommendations may require different kinds of data to be collected, and that ethics of data privacy may need to be negotiated in different ways for the special learners. Important ethical principles within AI in education include transparency, bias and inclusion, data privacy and protection, data custodianship, and agency and autonomy. Now, what should be the framework for implementing AI in education? The short term solutions include identification and establishment of ethical guidelines in AI ED context. However, for long term, we need to think about how can we inculcate ethical behavior as a core trait in individuals. To best harness AI in education, we need to lay down policies and solutions for preparing the educational systems, for promoting key competencies for teachers, and for promoting key competencies for learners. As far as the system is concerned, it should be ready with pre-selected AI tools and resources mapped to different learning objectives, both for generic learning objectives and for specific learning objectives. As far as teacher competencies are concerned, teachers should be supported to improve their data and AI literacy. More importantly, they should also be trained in advanced digital pedagogies by which they are able to better integrate AI in their teaching learning processes. Additionally, the teacher training program should also aim at improving literacy on ethics of AI, skills in data analytics, and social emotional skills among the teachers. As far as preparing learners is concerned, the curriculum and education system should strive to promote self regulated and lifelong proactive learning skills among the learners. Learners should also be helped in improving their ethics of AI literacy and computational fluency. Thank you for your kind attention. My name is Shitanshu Mishra and I am happy to discuss these points further.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra, for providing us with an overview of the regional perspective to contextualize policy development for AI in education. So, of course, our session for today is not over yet. We've collected some of your questions and regarding our topic for today, and our esteemed speakers are, of course, here to answer them. So I will turn you over to my colleague, Miss Princess, for the facilitation of the Q&A session. Princess.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy. Thank you again to our resource persons who are present today. We have Father Jay, Dr. Chitansi, and Ms. Sarah. So for our first question, it is addressed to all our speakers here. The first question is, why is it important to promote alignment among AI guidelines and frameworks of different Southeast Asian countries, considering the stark differences in their political, economic, and sociocultural landscape? Probably Miss. Okay, Father Jay.
Can you hear me? May I be the first one to answer that? Yes, we may have different contexts politically, economically, situation-wise, although we are all from Southeast Asia, The thing is, why do we need to have the question is why a uniform ethical basis for policy formulation, something like that. Speaking of ethics, I think I think I mentioned it to somebody. It is the most universal concept, the most in a way the most common principles that we can all have, like respect. Nothing to do, for example, with AI being responsible, using it as regards data privacy. I don't think you need to be an Indian, to be a Malaysian, to be a Filipino to recognize that. Respect, freedom, dignity. That's why anything that AI could be used in the upfront of humans, of people, is something that knows no region. Whether I am a European, an American, a Southeast Asian, I am a Thai, I am a Vietnamese, it's something that needs to be upheld. Sorry. And so that's why, as I mentioned, well, ethical principles are the most universal, the most common, regardless of your race, regardless of your country, regardless of your nationality and ethnic group. There might be some, some difference along the way, but I don't think they are really that much. Because, like for example, does technology uh, being used in violation to human dignity and freedom and rationality? I think it's something that is applicable to everyone, and I think many of you would agree. That's why. In the formulation of policy in education as regards to the use of I think there are some grounds that are, the same for everyone. And I think that's what, no matter how different we are from one another, different countries, different ethnic groupings, yet this is something that makes us one. The ethical principle. That's how I see it as a professor of philosophy and ethics and theology and philosophy. Thank you.
Yes, I do agree that the universality of ethical principles will guide the alignment of Southeast Asian frameworks. Um, Thank you for that, Father Jay. Who else from our speakers would want to speak? Yes, Dr.
Maybe I can. Yeah, just want to make a small comment. So we need to have a generic common policy shared by everyone, but at the implementation level or the technology development level, we need to ensure that serving the diversity or diverse requirements is also crucial. So, so serving the diverse requirement could itself be a common agreed policy for all, right? So, for example, an AIED system that recognizes emotions, if it is trained uh, on a population from maybe global north, and if we want to implement the same train models in global south, or even different regions in global south, uh, the accuracies and performance will vary. But yeah, so there should be a general common level agreeable thing for all, and then there should be works where we instantiate and create solutions for specific requirements contextually.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Ms. Tangi, do you have any thoughts?
Thanks, Princess, and thank you to the speakers who commented before I did. And in agreement with everything that's been shared, I think one of the important things to highlight here is that although alignment is important, contextual adaptation is actually crucial, recognizing the diversity that we have across the region, right? But at the same time, I think recognizing that borders across the Southeast Asian region are quite porous, and the AI in education space is actually moving at a very rapid pace and is primarily actually being led by a lot of private sector players in the region currently. So in order to be able to leverage the information the information that already exists around AI in education, and for countries to build off of learnings from one place to another and not have to start from scratch, having some sort of alignment is really important. And we've also talked quite broadly, I think, we've talked quite extensively about the role of data in AI policy usage as well. And we've all recognized that using biased data that is currently probably predominantly generated from Western users is one of the reasons why AI tools might not be as well suited for this region as we would like. So in order to make sure that we are using AI tools that are more specific to this region, I think that data collection interoperability is really important. And therefore, I think alignment in the sense of data collection, data usage, and data privacy security is really important across the region, because there are a lot of lessons that can be learned and shared from across the region in terms of data usage for AI.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Tangi. I do agree that although we need to align the frameworks in the region, we also have to consider the contextualization of AI integration per country. For the next question, I think it would be best if Father Jay would answer this because this is in the Philippine context. This question is from our audience, from Solatem. The question is, what are the principal opportunities and challenges associated with the integration of artificial intelligence in the educational sector of the Philippines?
I think that's quite general in a sense that it's something that we all perceive here in the Philippines. The most challenging, in a way, situation as regards Philippine education and AI is that I think it has something to do with economics first. You see, we are already on the level of artificial intelligence. Obviously, it entails having what? Gadgets, it entails having computers and all this. While there are some sectors in the Philippines, when, you know what I mean, far-flung areas, they don't even have yet electricity and computers and all this. They may have cell phones. I think Filipinos love having cell and all these smartphones for what? Social media and all this. But when it comes to gadgets having really use for education, like laptops and all this, I think those, from the economic side, that's something that we need to improve yet. And another thing, the challenges that many of our educators face, like being upgraded, and of course the knowledge area wise, no? Are they how trained are they in technology mediated learning? How advanced are we, or how late are we? I think those are the things that we need to tackle. Of course, there are some reforms that they need to introduce in education in the Philippines. Maybe private schools, they are much ahead. They can cope. But how about the majority that are students in public schools? I think that remains to be a challenge for education in the Philippines. So knowledge-wise, technology-wise, that's something to do with economics. And of course, knowledge-wise, when it comes to teaching and learning through through technology-mediated means, as I mentioned, still needs to be improved. Trainings, and I think it should always be there. And it doesn't stop. Why? Technology evolved fast. Okay, what you may have used now, it may not anymore, or it's already outdated the following year. I think that's we need to be vigilant about when it comes to the advancement of technology and its use in education. So more or less, those are the things that I see now. Of course, leadership, governance, administration-wise, of course, the support of our higher ups. How supportive are they, since we are the one we teachers who are on the field, no? We are the one who really face the difficulty of teaching and learning when there is not enough support, something we can feel. Maybe economically, something, are we really supported? Is that enough budget for it? Okay, I think training, technology, it entails a lot of, financial resources that could get involved. But, if we don't get them, of course, other than the moral support that we need from our heads, right? Especially in the public school. So is there a section in the reform of education, especially now in the Philippines? I think they are doing all their best how to reform education through the Education Commission 2. Okay, I hope this is something that they need to give focus on. More or less, those are the things that I encountered to be really a challenge that need to be answered as soon as possible, especially technology is moving very fast, especially its influence on teaching and learning in our schools, whether you are in a private sector or public sector. Thank you. I hope I was able to give insight on that question.
Your inputs. And I do agree that there are a lot of challenges in the Philippines, especially due to the socioeconomic status of students and the access of teachers to capacity training programs, perhaps. And of course, we also have to take into consideration the support of our leaders and government officials in these initiatives. So I'm curious to know if our two other speakers have any opinions regarding how the Philippines is perceived by your respective demographics when it comes to opportunities and challenges. Because, for example, Ms. Sangay is from EdTech Hub, and EdTech Hub has a lot of research in the Philippine context as well. So we would like to know your stance on these issues as well, Ms. Sangay. And of course, for Dr. Mishra, how does UNESCO have any studies or any research regarding how they perceive the implementation or the potential implementation of AI for education in the Philippines?
Sure. Thank you so much. I can jump in very briefly here. So, like I mentioned earlier, from what we understand, I think there has been a lot of growing efforts being made around the Southeast Asian region around developing standards and policy guidelines for effective use of AI in education. From the research that we've done and from our understanding, the Philippines is on that track as well, and is actually one of the countries where we see quite a high number of self-directed usage of self-initiated and self-directed usage of AI in classrooms from teachers as well. Recently, we saw that. Recently, we had a conversation with a range of teachers from across the region, and we actually encountered a lot of teachers from the Philippines who, on their own accord, started using AI tools in their classrooms quite effectively. But there is, again, I think, an importance here again about regulation and regulation that comes into place, because we recognize that there's self-directed usage that's taking place across the Philippines. But I think currently we also need to recognize that there's a lot of diversity in the Philippines. So looking at private schools versus public schools and looking at access in the urban areas versus the rural areas, I think equal access to opportunity and equal access to information around AI and education might not be as prevalent as we would like in the moment. So that is where the need for guidelines and regulations really comes in, I think, to make sure that the usage is taking place, but in an equitable manner. So there's no shortage of examples and use cases of how AI has been used in the Philippines education system and how it's been impacting learning in certain contexts. But whether or not it's happening in an equitable manner equally across the country is another question, I think. And therefore, I think having more standardized regulations is going to become more important as well. Should I pass over to you, Mishra?
Yes, thanks. So, yeah, maybe the exact answer about the state of AI education implementation in Philippines may be better answered by our colleagues from Bangkok, UNESCO Bangkok regional office. However, I was a little involved with one of the studies in an Indian context, and what we found was that there was a trend, an increasing trend of job market, increase in job market, job opportunities in the domain of AI. And so just like information technology, AI is also growing. However, at the same time, another reality is that there is a huge digital divide still exists, right? So there are people who are trained on AI and needed skills. However, there are unproportionately large number of people who don't even have access, and these access are at different levels. So one level could be access at the level of availability of resources. People don't have power supplies. If they have power supplies, they don't have devices. If they have devices, they don't have connectivity. And even if they have connectivity, devices, and everything, they don't have adequate training to be able to make optimum use of the technologies available, right? And this adequate training, as I was talking in my presentation, is in the context of education. We need to prepare our different stakeholders, educators, as well as learners, as well as decision makers and policy makers, such that we take well-informed and optimum decisions for the betterment of education and learners. Right. So, yeah, so this was the overall sense that there is a trend, but still there's a huge access gaps.
So thank you for your answers, Ms. Sange and Dr. Mishra. So I have taken down, or I have noted down that there's an opportunity in the job market, especially for the increase of opportunities for AI and tech development. However, you both stated that there is a lack of equitable access, or possibly a lack of inclusivity when it comes to the usage of AI in education. And this is something that the policymakers must take into consideration. Father Jay also mentioned a similar concern regarding the lack of access to proper technological infrastructure. So we'll be moving on now to our last question. So, what strategies would you recommend for effectively implementing artificial intelligence within the context of educational governance well, this was a question from our audience, but they mentioned that educational governance, specifically in Cambodia. However, you may answer at a regional perspective, or at the perspective of the Philippines, or at the perspective of South Asia. So, you would recommend for effective implementation of artificial intelligence within the context of educational governance?
Sure, I can take a stab to maybe start the thinking here as well. And we've actually done a lot of work in Cambodia as well. So I think I'm trying to position this from a lens where it could be applicable to the Cambodian context, but also across the region. And one of the things that we highlighted in our presentation as well is that currently the primary focus around AI usage from a government policy and governance standpoint really is around AI literacy, making sure that there is access to high quality and well researched information around AI. Because right now, I think a lot of the AI efforts are being led sort of in a self-initiated manner. So there isn't a lot of quality control, right? So a lot of the information that's going out there, a lot of the tools that are being used are happening sort of as and when people are able to find them. So I think from a governance perspective, at these nascent stages, the first thing is to prioritize AI literacy, and then to prioritize some level of safeguarding as well as quality assurance. So we want to make sure that the tools that we're using are relevant in the context that they're being used in, and we want to make sure that the AI or education resources that are being developed are actually of the quality that they should be when to be used in a learning environment, right? So one example that I can think of here is oftentimes ChatGPT is used as a very common tool in the classroom, right, as an AI tool, which is great because it does provide information. There are ways that it can be scaffolded into learning and can really support learning outcomes if used well. But if a user just uses it in itself without the actual scaffolding, it doesn't really teach you the principles of thinking or does not enable critical thinking. Whereas if you look at tools like Khanmigo that comes out of Khan Academy, you ask it a question and it doesn't regurgitate the answer, it scaffolds your thinking. So it'll ask you, okay, let's look at this together. What do you think is blah, 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 right? So there is like a scaffolded approach to learning as well. So I think that currently at this stage as well, it's important for governments to think about how can AI tools be sort of integrated into policy, into pedagogy and curriculum so that the tools are being used to actually develop skills as opposed to just provide information, right? And this can range between, I think this includes what I mentioned earlier about the quality control and making sure that the tools that are being used are appropriate for the context that they're being used in, but also thinking around how can current teacher training and curriculum be adapted to better integrate these tools into learning as well. So I think there's a lot of signs that indicate we need to be moving towards a more skill-based curricular as well, just to be able to navigate these tools more effectively, right? So in this region specifically, given that a lot of the tools that we're using are not developed in this region, I think it's important for AI education governance to really be focusing on literacy and contextualization and making sure that it is scaffolding learning in a very appropriate manner.
Okay, so next I can take next shot. Okay. Uh, yeah, as we were discussing before, right? So there needs to be a generic, agreeable understanding of what needs to be done across the borders, because see, AI, even if we know that contextual requirements is required, and they need to be addressed, but we also know that it's connected. Everything is connected, and a tool developed in one part of the globe is accessible by other part of the globe. Now what's needed more specifically? So immediate solutions are identifying the guidelines and creating policies and regulations. Long-term solutions could be the capacity building, as we talked about capacity building of educators and other stakeholders. As far as immediate solutions, what one thing that we don't think about much is whenever we talk about AI, we just go into deep development of AI. We don't uh, perceive AI as just another product which can be used. For example, medical product. You can train nurses to take care of patients, and those nurses need not to be trained completely at the depth of how doctors are trained. Right? They know medicine, but they might not know very much detailed insights of the medicine. But still, nurses are needed. Similarly, for implementing AI in education in a classroom, an educator needs to know some basic knowledge of how to serve some AI tools to their learners, how to integrate AI tools in their classroom. And for that, maybe we need some kind of ready-made, readily available information with all sort of AI in education tools. For example, if I'm integrating Duolingo app for learning, and if Duolingo, I mean, just for example, so if that app has some examples which is contextualized not in my region, so me as an educator should be able to get this information that the intelligence of this tool is coming from the data which is not from my region. Then me as an educator should be able to take a decision whether I want to integrate in my classroom or not, or whether I should go ahead and find out some other language learning tool, right? So which is more trained in my context. So just like on food products, we have specifications, right? This much protein is there, this much carbohydrate is there, these are the contents. Similarly, we need to avail some ready-made information against the available AI in education tools, such that the educators, the decision makers in the schools and organizations can take a well-informed decision whether they want to adopt the tool. And education settings, right? So these needs to be. I mean, this is just one. Yeah, I was thinking aloud about what specific needs to be done. In general, yeah, we need agreeable policies and also contextualized ones.
Yeah. On my part, such a topic that is so wide, I'd rather leave the intricacies and the more, practical things about AI and its use to those AI practitioners and AI, AI users who are really experts in it. And I'd rather leave the particular thing to the AI experts. But I would like to, there's one thing that I would like to promote, especially in this era of AI now, the beginning of AI in education. It is this, which I have written in one of my articles in my column in Manila Times. I have entitled it, I have written it last year. I have entitled it Digital Intelligence, or DQ, Why We Need It. We got emotional intelligence, right? IQ is there, emotional intelligence, and all forms of intelligences. But I think much of the things that have been mentioned by our friends here, my fellow resource speakers, is that all those things actually fall under digital intelligence. And digital intelligence covers things like uh, what? Ethics, creative use of AI, and of course, dealing with the dangers that AI has. How are we going to increase our intelligence when it comes to AI? And I think it has something to do with digital intelligence. And I would like to, in a way, not really promote, but I would like to mention to many educators here, okay, to many educators here, as we embark now on use of AI in education, how I wish you can get hold of many literature that has something to do with digital intelligence. Okay, I think you got enough IQ. You're building up your EQ. Can we also build up our DQ, our digital intelligence? And much of the things that we have discussed fall under these literature and researches. Okay, so more or less I mean the thing that I would like to give emphasis on that question and on that issue. Whether I mean you're in what continent you may be, Southeast Asia or in Asia or in Europe or in North or South America, Africa, I think these things, finding more literature, learning more literature about DQ, I think something that we need now. And DQ is something that we need to increase as a capacity, okay, of being learners, of being teachers, and above all, being humans. So thank you.
Uh, uh, with this, now technology is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, right? And we need to acknowledge that education is not happening just in the controlled periphery. It's happening everywhere. It has been happening everywhere. But now, because even if a learner comes out of the classroom, comes out of the school, they have access to technology, right? And those technologies are full of information. There is an information overload. So learning and education is happening formally, informally, and everywhere. All right. So it's important that we work on such ideas of building capacities of individuals on digital quotient kind of thing. Yeah, and it's also one of the things that I would like to bring in from my institute. My institute focuses, one of the prime focus is on developing social emotional skills among individuals. Now, previously we used to talk about social emotional skills, where social means a learner or the teacher is exist in a social context. They don't exist in isolation, and therefore the social context and social interactions, they impact how they teach, how they learn, how they live. Right. Similarly, but now when you talk about technology and ubiquitous technologies like AI, we need to acknowledge that man and or human and machine, they are now closely interacting with each other, and this interaction is giving rise to new kind of sciences about how emotions are regulated, how emotions are affected, and therefore how learning and education is going to be affected. So yeah, so this needs to be acknowledged.
Right. So I would like to thank all of our speakers for their very comprehensive remarks. And now I would like to present Ms. Hias Clamor Torneo, a specialist from the Education Research and Innovation Office of SEAMEO INNOTECH for the synthesis portion. So she is here together with me. So Ma'am Hias, we have heard a lot from our speakers today. And they had a lot of very comprehensive discussions, and I believe you have a presentation ready. But so far, what can you say about our Q&A session? Are there any insights that you would like to highlight before our synthesis, ma'am?
I think all of our resource persons raised very nuanced arguments For example, considering what are universal principles that all countries can follow and nations can consider in developing their regulations and frameworks for AI in education, while at the same time we need to recognize the diversity and the different contexts that the countries in Southeast Asia face. So I think that's a highlight from their discussions. So yeah. So thank you, Ms. Ivy. I'm Hias Clamor-Turnea, and I will hope to present a synthesis of what has been discussed during the webinar. I hope you can see my slides. So basically, as mentioned by our center director, SEAMEO INNOTECH has organized a series of webinars on AI, looking into the potential and limitations of AI, how various sectors from the academe, industry, and policymakers perceive the status and future impacts of AI, and AI tools that can be utilized for teaching and learning. So throughout these webinar series, we hope that we have broadened the awareness of teachers, education leaders, and policymakers on AI for education. However, our discourse should go beyond its utilization. We should look into its ethical use and governance. So we've had 4 speakers today, and I wish to share a few key messages from their presentations. So the first one is about centrality of human in the age of AI. So in a time of technological advancements, when so many ICT equipment and tools are made available to us, we need to go back to the core, the human person. We need to recognize the centrality of human and being human in our discourse on governance for education. So we must recognize that the human person has an inherent value, has intellect, freedom, and potential for self-actualization. Whatever tool we have, including AI, must be used to aid humans in the attainment of their goals and promotion of values such as compassion, care, love, and peace. And because we want to protect those human values, we need to discern the principles that our society must uphold. So we must look at the broader impact of AI. And I like how a lot of our research persons from the Philippine Congress, from EdTech Hub, and UNESCO posed questions. Also our research person from UST. So these are just a few of the questions raised, and we must continue to reflect on them now. What kind of future are we preparing our students for? Are we equipping them with the critical skills needed to navigate a world increasingly shaped by AI? Are we ensuring that AI is used to enhance rather than replace the human elements of education, such as creativity, empathy, and collaboration? In addition, during the webinar, there were a few guiding principles mentioned, such as equity, accessibility, and inclusivity, transparency and accountability, ethical AI development and use, and agency and autonomy. So we aspired that these principles, deriving from the need to respect, protect, and promote human values, will guide AI development, use, and governance. Overall, we hope to ensure that AI promotes sustainable development, that it would help societies address the needs of the most marginalized. So we hope to guarantee that AI upholds justice and fairness and values that we wish to see in our societies. Lastly, is about governance. In order for those principles to be protected and upheld, governance plays a key role. So our policies, structures, and processes must be put into place to regulate AI. So we've heard initiatives from the Philippine Congress on AI governance, as well as how Southeast Asian governments strategize to use AI for economic gains. We've learned that some countries, such as Thailand, Singapore, and Vietnam, have started initiatives to harness the potential of AI in education. We've also learned a few processes by which countries can regulate AI in education, guided by guidelines from UNESCO and ASEAN. So some of the key components mentioned regarding governance revolve around infrastructure development, ensuring that those in the far-flung areas and those who need support with technology can avail them. There was a discussion about the whole of government approach on AI, ensuring that various sectors are involved and various agencies within the government are also consulted and involved in the development of AI regulations. There has been also a discussion on data regulation, ensuring that the privacy of data of students especially are protected. I think our resource persons also highlighted the need for capacity development of our learners and especially of our teachers. There was also a mention about continuous learning and adaptation. As mentioned by Ms. Sangay, AI is being rapidly adopted by the various countries, and we must learn to be agile in addressing and mitigating risk that is associated with them. And lastly, there were, I think, a few of our resource persons mentioned the need for collaborative governance, no? That we must involve the learners, our teachers, and the business sectors and various stakeholders to come up with regulations on AI in education. And actually, as part of SEAMEO INNOTECH's upcoming international conference, we will also try to come up with a framework on AI integration in education, reflecting the various sectors, perspectives of the various sectors in education, in the education ecosystem. So, as a result, our webinar presented a few implications. No? So, countries need to move beyond mere debates about whether AI should be used in education settings and towards exploring how to best mitigate the risks, leverage opportunities, and redefine or reimagine learning and teaching. As countries gradually transition from banning and evading generative AI in education to adapting and embracing it, clear government guidelines and policies must be in place to ensure responsible and ethical use. The development and adaptation of a localized education specialized generative AI can be a promising direction for harnessing the power of generative AI while protecting students with a safe learning environment for educational purposes. And there is also an urgent need for a concerted effort and cross-border efforts to address equity and inclusivity issues surrounding generative AI use so as not to widen existing digital divides. Hence, regional coordination and dialogue among education stakeholders is needed to steer generative AI and its use towards benefiting all learners and educators across the Asia-Pacific region. So I wish to end the webinar synthesis with a summary statement. Embracing AI responsibly necessitates a conscious effort to be vigilant with the innovation it offers while fostering ethical standards. In doing so, collaborative efforts of the different education stakeholders must be strengthened, and most importantly, the guiding principles must be established in every school along with the paradigmatic approach to AI technology. So thank you. I hope everyone has learned a lot from this session.
Thank you, Ms. Yes, for your synthesis. That was a very comprehensive summary of what has transpired through our webinar. So our deepest appreciations also to Congressman Isidre, Father Miranda, Ms. Sarah, Ms. Sangay, and Dr. Mishra for your time today. So thank you for sharing with us your expertise and insights regarding AI governance in education. So this session helped us understand the policy development initiatives in the Philippines and the other countries within the region. Now, I know this is the part that a lot of us have been waiting for, so how will you get your e-certificates for today? So kindly answer our end of the program evaluation form, and you may access it by scanning the QR code shown on your screen or by clicking the link that we have posted on the comment section. The survey will be open until the end of today, so 16th August at 11:59 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. So the certificates will be shared to you at a later time, so please follow us on social media and stay tuned for the updates regarding that. So thank you very much to all our viewers on Facebook and YouTube for actively participating in this conversation. We hope that you had an informative and meaningful time with us. So now, to formally end our learning session for today, let us hear a message from SEAMEO INNOTECH's very own Center Deputy Director, Ms. Cochacorn Katapan Asidre.
As we reach the conclusion of this insightful webinar on AI governance in education, I am filled with a profound sense of optimism and responsibility. SEAMEO INNOTECH has conducted webinars and activities since May this year to provide opportunities for the stakeholders to get a glimpse of AI role in transforming education, learning, and the world. You can see that AI has the potential to transform various industries and aspects of our lives, from healthcare to finance, to education, transportation, the arts, and humanity. It can optimize processes, improve efficiency, and drive innovation across different sectors. Through data analysis and predictive modeling, AI can also help tackle global challenges such as climate change, poverty, and disease. The discussion we've shared underscores AI transformative potential as a driving force for the country's development, while emphasizing the paramount importance of ethical consideration and robust policy development. AI has the potential to transform countries and accelerate development, but it is crucial to implement it strategically and responsibly. Therefore, it is our shared responsibility to ensure that AI serves as a powerful tool for empowerment and enlightenment. This is SEAMEO INNOTECH's commitment to empowering learners, educators, business leaders, and policymakers, and creating a multi-sectoral synergy to improve education and learning for every learner in Southeast Asia. Let us leave this webinar with a renewed commitment to collaborate, innovate, and lead with integrity as we navigate the complexities of AI governance in education. Thank you for your active participation and dedication to shaping the future. The journey continues, and I look forward to the transformative impact we will make together. With this, I would like to invite you to the 16th International Conference of SEAMEO INNOTECH to be held next year in the Philippines under the theme Fostering the I in AI, a multi-sectoral synergy for human-centered education. So stay engaged, stay informed, and stay inspired. Thank you very much, everyone.
So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today. And please stay tuned on SEAMEO INNOTECH's social media sites for more updates regarding our upcoming programs. Now, we will be showing you a teaser of our biggest event coming soon.
civilization where the future bright and true.